Good day, everybody. This is Michael Levitas from JurisQ.com, and I want to welcome a new attorney into our network, Sandra Spurgeon. Sandra, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. And the reason why I invited you to our podcast because you have handled thousands of litigation matters in state and federal courts, catastrophic events, big personal injury cases, all types of civil litigation. And look, a lot of newsworthy events occurred in the past few weeks, and I want to get your take and your expertise to comment on these cases. And I know you've done a lot of commenting for big networks. You now are a commentator for Law and Crime Cable Network. And I also want to pick your brain.
Okay, that sounds great.
Sure. But first, I want to introduce you some more to our public. I understand you're an attorney in Kentucky.
I am. I'm licensed in Kentucky and also in Washington, D.C.
Okay, very good. And can you also handle federal cases?
Yes. I'm licensed both in state and federal jurisdictions, and I've practiced law throughout the country under what's called a pro hoc vice.
Okay.
When I'm asked to consult with other firms, I'm brought in under a pro hoc with permission of that state bar association to consult and participate in that particular case in a particular court.
Great. And Sandra, I saw on your website that you have more than 27 years of experience. That's very admirable. Can you tell us what kind of matters do you deal with?
Don't let that age me. I'm kidding.
Not at all. I was going to say that, yeah.
I grew up in the law when I first started my practice doing insurance defense and car accidents, examining insurance policies, doing SIU or fraud investigation for respective insurance companies. And I still do some of that work. I think that I'd like to be on both sides of the fence. In 2000, I had I gave birth to my second child, and she was born critically ill.
Oh, wow.
And it was during that experience of life or death and making decisions and watching other families in the same position that I realized how important it is for people to have a voice, an advocate during those difficult times. And it reignited my soul and my passion about practicing law.
Right.
So I began transitioning into doing also catastrophic injury work where I represent victims who have been catastrophically injured from accidents, products liability, explosions, product defects, anything that fires, anything that would devastate an individual or a family from a personal injury, from an economic standpoint. I also do some consulting with corporations, prepping experts, their executives or employees for depositions and for trial. Very important to make those individuals appealable to a jury, explaining the process. It's not typical for most people to understand the ins and the outs of what it means to be in a courtroom. And I think it helps to have someone to help them get them ready, to get them presentable, the lingo, the language.
Right.
And I think that anyone, when you're coming into a new experience, you're very hesitant. I don't care if you're a CEO or if you are a lay person off of the street who may have witnessed a catastrophic event. It's very important for that person to understand that they're going into a room with a room full of lawyers in suits and dresses and court reporters, and how to make that a human, relatable experience where that witness feels more comfortable, relaxed, and able to answer the questions.
And Sandra, it's great that you represent both defense and plaintiffs because you have seen it all from both sides. You can advise even companies how to avoid lawsuits, how to avoid liability.
Yes,
I think it's a very big plus.
Thank you. I consult with different companies, and I have a video that I take of depositions gone wrong.
Right.
And what happens when witnesses aren't adequately prepared and how quickly they can spiral into an uncontrollable, undesirable situation. And most people don't think about it, right? Most people don't think about being sued or being brought into a lawsuit and what that means. And so it's always fun bringing levity to companies of this may happen, and this is why you have to be prepared.
Especially in the USA, the most litigious country in the world. So you never know. Sandra, you mentioned you as a two-time mother, how you could be so inspirational to other women and young ladies out there who also want to have a successful career and balance family and work. And I understand you're actually a part of few organizations that supports women. I've seen on your website that you are a director in Women Leads Kentucky organization.
Formally, yes, I was, yes, with Women's Leading Kentucky, that is correct.
And yeah.
No, go ahead.
And are you now on the board of Foster Council organization?
Yes, I'm a former member. Since December of 20, I now split my time between Dallas, Texas, and Kentucky. So I am giving and charitable in other ways, but still support Foster Council of America. They have an incredible program here in Kentucky for these young kids going into foster care.
Yeah, it's such an example of what you could accomplish both in career and family. I'm sure a lot of people can look up to you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for that work. Yeah. And also, most interestingly, you wrote a book about your experience in courtroom, a book that is called Courage to Stand, Mastery of Trial, right? What's the full title?
Yes.
And what is that book about?
Well, let me give you a little background. In 2017, the end of 2017, really, I think as most people do, as we advance in our career, we won't say age, but as we advance in our career, we get to a point where we say, what's next? And I really wasn't sure. And I stepped back for a period of 6 months and working with those that I hold or held in high regard, asking, what's my next chapter? I was asked, what are you doing to pay forward? And I said, I don't know what you mean. And it was a practice of gratitude because I really I had not stopped in 30 years to raise up and to look at the experience that I had gained and how it may help other young men and women coming into the practice of law.
So you're passing on your knowledge to others.
It's a way. It was probably as beneficial to me as it may be beneficial to any young man or young woman or a young attorney, rather, reading the book. But I labeled it Courage to Stand because a lot of people say they're courtroom lawyers or they're trial lawyers, when in reality, there are very few that actually litigate in the courtroom and are comfortable on their feet. So I give that as a dedication to those that have mentored me and that I look up to. But it also is a story of a young girl coming from very humble means in rural Appalachia. It's been on the news recently, and that's the area where all the flooding has occurred was the area in which I grew up. And so really having the courage to break through those glass ceilings when during an era where there weren't a lot of other women doing what I was doing, really was not encouraged. My family didn't understand why a woman wanted or felt the need to go to law school, and really breaking through those glass ceilings of being able to achieve what I did during a time when there wasn't much expected of young women like myself.
Sandra, you bring up a very important point that a lot of attorneys, they say they litigate, but they do not. What they do is they accept clients, they try to settle, but if they hit a roadblock, they refer the case to a real litigator. Whereas with you, you can take the case all the way to trial to verdict. You have the necessary experience and the resources. And this is why we turn to you for our questions, because you actually do this hands-on. And this was our introductory session. In our next sessions, I want to pick your brain about recent cases that were in the news. And we're going to talk about the most buzzing case right now, the raid on the estate of Donald Trump. That was huge in the news and a lot of controversy surrounding it. And because you have the experience working in federal courts, you know how grand jury works, how you can obtain a search warrant properly, improperly. We're going to get in all that. We're going to talk about the truth from the legal standpoint, leaving politics out of it. From the legal standpoint, what happened and what can we expect? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some other interesting cases. For example, recently, in the 1 week, there were allegations that Black kids were ignored by workers, by mascots in Chuck E. Cheese and in Sesame Street. We're going to talk about whether there's any legal liability here on behalf of the company. So please stay tuned for our next sessions. Sandra, thank you, and we're going to see you very soon. Appreciate it. Thank you.